see you this Friday, America. Deadpool.
Rated R. In theaters on IMAX Friday.
Obviously, that commercial was taken on the Sunday during the biggest TV event of the year. That was, of course, the Academy Awards. Not just kidding. That was the Super Bowl, obviously. But I don't even know why I started off that way. Welcome to Time About the Movies, everybody. It is Valentine's Day weekend 2016. And with the exception of one movie, we got a pretty solid weekend of films here going across different genres. You got a superhero movie, a romantic comedy, and an animated film. And then a sequel nobody was asking for, but we'll eventually get to that one. But let's go ahead and get to this movie right here, the biggest new release of the weekend, and also one of the big game changers in the superhero movie genre, and that is, of course, Deadpool. This, of course, features Ryan Reynolds as a former Special Forces operative turned mercenary, Wade Wilson, who, after being subjected to a rogue experiment that leaves him with accelerated healing powers, adopting the alter ego Deadpool. Armed with his new abilities and a dark, twisted sense of humor, Deadpool hunts down the man who nearly destroyed his life. Now, when you hear somebody talking about doing a passion project, 99 times out of 100, it's not very good at all. In fact, sometimes it's downright terrible. But when you have Ryan Reynolds talking about this movie and what he thought he could have brought to the character of Deadpool when he started in X-Men Origins Wolverine, and then they basically just took his ability to talk away. The mark with the mouth can't speak in that movie, and of course that backfired big time. But when you hear Ryan Reynolds talking about this character, you can just tell that he was so ready to give us the Deadpool that we've been waiting to see since he was casted in that role as Wolverine. And really, this movie would have probably never come to fruition had it not been for that leak that came out in 2014. So if you don't remember, there was supposed to be a Deadpool movie that was supposed to be based off the character from the X-Men Origins Wolverine movie, but of course, that never happened for obvious reasons. So the test footage eventually leaked online in July of 2014, and by that point, 20th Century Fox saw the reaction from people and thought, wow, people must really want to see this movie. So not but a few months later, 2 months later actually, they put a release date for this movie out, and lo and behold, the movie eventually became a fruition, and Reynolds himself even thanked the people who leaked that for getting this made, and really, there you go right there. So if this movie had not gotten leaked out, I don't think we would be seeing this movie become the franchise that it is today. I mean, we finally get the Deadpool that we've been waiting to see for years now, and not only do we get a great Deadpool movie with this, we pretty much have what was the best X-Men movie at that point. Like, I'm not even joking. It might as well be the best X-Men movie ever made. I mean, it's one of the more enjoyable and hilarious comedies I've seen since 22 Jump Street. I mean, this movie really works because of the fact that it's mostly because of Ryan Reynolds. You can tell he's passionate about this. He wanted the movie to work as well as it does, and it's because he's having so much fun playing this character. It does a good job of balancing a lot of the comedy in this to make it work. It shows why Ryan Reynolds is such a perfect choice for this, and it shows how much the filmmakers really like this character so much to make a film about it that actually does work really well. The rest of the cast overall is great too. Morena Baccarin's really great as the love interest, Vanessa, and you can definitely see in Reynolds' relationship really coming together in this. Their chemistry is great. The bad guys are a ton of fun. Ed Skrein and Gina Carano are pretty solid in this. It's obvious they're playing cardboard cutout villains, and the film makes total acknowledgement of that fact as well. T.J. Miller and Leslie Uggams are having fun in this, playing the supporting characters, playing kind of the supporting side characters in this, as well as Brianna Hildebrand and Stefan Kapicic as Negasonic Teenage Warhead and Colossus. They show up all over the film, and they steal the show alongside Deadpool in the film. I mean, everyone in this movie works really, really well. The comedy is top-notch, the action sequences are equally nicely done, and it does a good job of balancing the action and comedy together for a great, enjoyable ride all throughout the course of the movie. This film really is... It does for superhero movies what the Naked Gun did for police movies. It takes the superhero genre and gives it a hard, dark turn of enjoyment all the way through, and just goes along and just has a great time spoofing and parroting the hell out of it, while giving it its own unique vision to it. Ryan Reynolds is what sells the film. He's perfection in this. The rest of the cast is great. The action is fantastic. The comedy is top-notch. I mean, and by the time it comes to an end, you want more. And, of course, we're going to get more with Deadpool 2 and Deadpool and Wolverine. And yeah, like I said, this movie really was a game changer in the fact of how it got made, but also it showed what you can do with an R-rated superhero movie from a property like Marvel or DC, and it showed that, and we got more of these movies because of that at the end. I mean, this movie is absolutely amazing. It's a film that still holds up. The longevity of this franchise is so memorable. I mean, you see that Deadpool 2 set back there. I bought that I think I bought that when COVID happened, honestly, but that's because I love that franchise. I love what this franchise has done. I love what it did for superhero movies in general. I love this movie, man. I can't recommend it enough. If you have not seen Deadpool at this point, for God's sakes, get off your ass and see the damn movie already. It's been 10 years, for God's sakes. But, I digress. Let's go ahead and move on to another really good movie this weekend. Maybe not as good as Deadpool, but certainly was a surprise to me. How to Be Single.
How to Be Single.
Where to?
Home. Alice! Oh my gosh! You're single now! You do not go home! Just
Rated R.
Like I need a movie to tell me how to be single. I've been living that life for 37 years now. God, I'm a pathetic loser, aren't I? But that's a whole other thing altogether. That's another story. But let's get back to this movie here. How to Be Single, the movie. Not my personal life, but anyway, Dakota Johnson. She stars as Alice, who temporarily dumps her college boyfriend Josh and moves to New York City to become a paralegal. She moves in with her sister, played by Leslie Mann, a single doctor considering having a kid as a single mother using a sperm donor. She befriends a wild co-worker, played by Rebel Wilson, who enjoys partying and one-night stands. She introduces her to Tom, played by Anders Holm from Workaholics, a bartender who has mastered the art of singlehood. Tom has a crush on Lucy, played by Alison Brie, who lives close to the bar and is looking for the perfect guy at every dating site possible. And as I said before, romantic comedies are usually critically detested, but some of them are actually not bad. And this one definitely is one of those ones that's not terrible. Is it a classic? No. God, no. But for the most part, it does work really well. And I think it works mostly because you do like these actors coming together. Dakota Johnson, I've always liked her as an actress. I mean, yeah, she's made some bad movies, the 50 Shades movies, Madam Web, but it was never because of her as an actress. She's proven time and time again how good of an actress she can really be. And here she proves that, and here's one of those examples where it really does work in her favor in this. Rebel Wilson's more enjoyable to watch. It has been more enjoyable to watch in the last couple of years. She hasn't taken the Melissa McCarthy route at this point. She's pretty fun in this movie, too, playing kind of the best friend in this movie to Dakota Johnson's character. Leslie Mann's always going to be great. I love Alison Brie. Everybody in this movie works very well here. Now, granted, all four of them have at least a couple moments where you want to smash your head against the wall with their stupidity, but they all manage to find ways to get by without making them look completely detestable. And for a movie like this, that goes a long, long way. Trust me when I say that. The rest of the cast is great, too. You got Anders Holm, the League's Jason Mantzoukas, Nicholas Braun, Damon Wayans Jr., Colin Jost, Jake Lacey. They all work very well in this movie. I like some of the smart ideas they have about the men and women in this movie, like Alison Brie's whole argument about men and women in New York City using peanuts is a kind of a clever scene, and even Anders Holm's idea about singlehood is one that a lot of single people can look at and go, you know, he's definitely onto something here. But what makes this movie work the best for me is that it doesn't insult the intelligence of its audiences and goes through the same romantic comedy bullshit of forcing these people to fall in love with each other. The film acknowledges the benefits to being single, but doesn't cram a predictable, happy rom-com ending at the end of the film, but instead embraces singlehood and what you can accomplish from it. I mean, it's kind of the traditional rom-com formula, but at the same time, it does manage to become one of the better rom-coms solely for the fact that it doesn't force the audience to accept what these type of movies usually would ask you to do. It lets the viewer decide if this is the kind of lifestyle you want to deal with. And the film does a good enough of a job by working off the momentum, and that alone makes the movie worth the watch overall as a matinee screening for it, or when it's on TV all the time, or something you want to watch on Blu-ray. It's certainly not a great movie or a classic, but it was one of those big surprises that I really did not see coming from anywhere here. I thought it was actually really, really enjoyable. I liked it a lot. I thought it was actually really, really enjoyable just because of what they did with it, along with the cast and all that. It's a great movie. It's a really great movie overall. Not a classic by any means. Toy boat. Not a great movie, but not a good movie, but not an incredible. Let me start over again. It's a good movie. It's not a great movie. It's not a classic by any means necessary, but it is certainly one of the more enjoyable surprises that I have seen in a long, long time. Okay, I think we can wrap this review up there because, yeah, not much more to say about this one except I really like this a lot. It's a good movie. It's a good movie. How to Be Single. So let's go to our steaming pile of crap for the week, and that is, wouldn't you know it, another comedy sequel that nobody was asking for and is coming way too goddamn late after the first movie. I'm, of course, talking about Ben Stiller in Zoolander 2.
You're the most ridiculous people I have ever seen.
Zoolander 2, February 12th.
You know, it's funny, as of the week I'm recording this, the trailer for the new Meet the Parents movie, Father-in-Law, came out, and it's funny because after that trailer came out, somebody did a post online talking about the Meet the Parents movies, and basically Ben Stiller said, you know, I like in a comment afterwards, Ben Stiller put a comment that said that, you know, the first two movies I really am a fan of. The third one, don't even ask me about it. Like, he really does not like the third film, basically apologizing to people who had to go sit through that movie, myself included, because, yeah, it's a terrible movie. And I do like the fact that he's more than aware of how bad that third movie is, because that third movie is atrocious. And yet, surprisingly, this new movie actually kind of looks pretty decent. I mean, mostly for Ariana Grande, who I think is really going to sell that movie in general. Now watch it come out a few months later, and I'll be just kind of like, what the hell was I thinking that movie was going to be saved by her? I mean, she'll probably be the best thing about it, but everything else about that was just kind of mediocre at best. I'm bringing this up because, you know, he's apologized for Little Fockers. I'm still waiting for the apology for this movie right here, because let me tell you something. This movie was bad. This was absolutely awful. After many prominent pop singers have been systematically assassinated with formerly famous male model Derek Zoolander's trademark blue steel look on their faces, Fashion Interpol brings in Derek and his friend Hansel McDonald out of retirement to infiltrate a now different world of high fashion in order to put a stop to it. Meanwhile, Derek's enemy Jacqueline Mugatu is set free and is seeking revenge. So remember how the year before we were succumbed to the Vacation remake and having to deal with the shit? I had to come out and say that I was done with comedy sequels and remakes. But there were still some people out there who thought I was being too harsh on it, because God knows the world needed Horrible Bosses 2 or any of the 2 Hangover sequels out there. Bottom line, I had my doubters. But after sitting through this pile of dreck, I do not want to hear anybody tell me that I'm too harsh on comedy sequels, because let me tell you something. This is without a doubt one of the worst comedy sequels I have ever seen in my entire life, and maybe one of the worst comedies I have ever seen in my life. It's that fucking terrible. I mean, where do you even begin with a movie this bad? Well, let's start with the story, turning the main character into a secret agent. You know, that's a clever idea that has never been done before. Cars 2, Austin Powers. You get the hint? We've done this shit before. They basically turned Zoolander into a much less funnier Austin Powers. I got more enjoyment out of the worst Austin Powers sequel than I did with this horseshit. Plus, you can tell that a sequel has nothing when they have to reduce to using the same villain from the first movie again. Rio 2, Shrek the Third. I don't know what I'm doing with my face here, but you get the point. We've seen this shit done before over and over again. Second, the wasting of its cast. I have a lot of respect for Ben Stiller, you know, as both an actor and a director, especially now with what he's done with Severance, and me appreciating The Secret Life of Walter Mitty much more as one of those great movies from that 2013, which I just did a best and worst movies of 2013 video as of recently, and I put that in there as part of the newer list that I had there. But I think he's more than proven to be a worthwhile entertainer and comedian who can make people laugh, but at the same time, this is his baby, so he's not taking the easy way out on this movie here. Not to mention the cast features way too many good actors in this. Owen Wilson is back, Will Ferrell is back, Penelope Cruz, Kristen Wiig, Fred Armisen, Sting, Christine Taylor's back in this one. The list goes on of people who are extremely too good for this trek here. Third, the pointless cameos. I mean, one of the big moments of the movie is watching Justin Bieber getting killed. Clearly, Ben Stiller never saw that episode of CSI where he got killed, where he got shot to death, by the police and all that. You're 5 years too late on that, buddy. But not to mention, the rest of the cameos in this movie are so dated and will be dated and are still dated from this point. Billy Zane shows up here in this movie because, yeah, he's still relevant. I mean, he's a great fun actor overall, but what person outside of your movie-going friends that love Titanic remembers who Billy Zane is? Susan Boyle. She's relevant in 2016, if you were living in 2009 maybe. MC Hammer, now you're going 25 years back, but you got Katy Perry, Neil deGrasse Tyson, Tommy Hilfiger, Naomi Campbell, Lewis Hamilton, Ariana Grande, Susan Sarandon, John Malkovich, Kiefer Sutherland, Skrillex. They have no purpose to be in this movie whatsoever. At least when Anchorman 2 had that big fight scene with all the cameos in there, there was a purpose to it. They actually had funny moments involved in that, and they actually had a story to work around. But here, there's just no excuse for this. The one cameo that I thought was really funny was the one that people got pissed off about, and that's when you saw Benedict Cumberbatch showing up as the non-binary model in there. And yeah, that was, and you know, the LGBT community was so pissed off about that, but you know what? It was still funnier than anything else in this goddamn movie. And I like how they came out after, and I like how years later they came out basically said, this, if that film had been made today, he wouldn't have played that role because that role should have been played by a trans actor or a non-binary actor, which I have nothing about that overall. Actually, I said that Ben Stiller has yet to apologize for this movie. As I'm looking up the research here, he did say that he was glad that the film flopped at the box office, stating that if the film had performed well financially, he wouldn't have been able to doing more serious non-comedic work such as Escape at Dannemora and Severance. So, okay, I apologize for that then. So Ben Stiller did clearly apologize for this, but you know what? I mean, it was something where it's just kind of like, okay, he apologized for it. He knew it didn't work. So, okay, I'll take back what I said on that front there, but still, this movie isn't that good. I mean, the movie's idea of comedy is everything that's wrong with comedy today. The main crux of the comedy in this is nothing but awkward humor and just making faces. Kristen Wiig's character in this movie, all she does is just make faces in front of the camera. That's not funny. That's not comedy. You just can't go and make funny faces and think that by doing absolutely nothing, that doesn't mean you get a free pass. Not in my house it doesn't. You're not making a movie for babies. You're not making a movie where, you're jiggling your keys in front of the audience to get a reaction out of you, because you know what? That's what you do when you try to get a baby to calm down. Your audience isn't that stupid. And finally, the biggest problem with this movie strictly comes from what I've been saying so long with comedy sequels. There was no reason to make a Zoolander 2. There was not one point in this movie that makes you think, okay, this is why we needed this movie to be made. None at all. Let me tell you why this movie got made. It got made because Paramount was trying to duplicate the same success they had with Anchorman 2. But Anchorman 2 was a sequel that everyone had been waiting for a number of years, and the fact that they finally got it, we got excited, we went to see it. It was a movie that turned out to be a massive hit. It was both a critical and financial success. Nobody gave a shit about another Zoolander movie in 2016. Remember, folks, the first Zoolander movie came out 2 weeks after the September 11th attack. This was a movie that was supposed to make people want to laugh again after such a tragic event to the country. And this movie wasn't a big hit, but it had a cult following to it. And you could have struck quicker, just like what happened with Austin Powers, and put out Zoolander 2 2 years after the first film, and it probably would have been a success on the same level as The Spy Who Shagged Me, but they waited so long to put this movie out. Nobody gave a shit anymore. That's my biggest problem with comedy sequels nowadays, is that you wait way too long to make the movies, and the only reason we're getting a lot of these sequels nowadays is because the studios have nothing else to work for here. They want to just put movies out quickly, so they'll go to AI, they'll go to people that are not really people who worked on the original movie. Like, I still don't get why they're doing Devil Wears Prada 2. I still don't get why we're getting Practical Magic 2. Who is asking for those movies in 2026? I mean, it's something that I'm gonna be glad when this trend is over soon, which I hope it will be soon, because I really don't think those movies are gonna be successful for too much longer. And some of you might look at me and go like, "Well, I wasn't a big fan of the first Zoolander movie," and I wasn't. I thought it had its moments, but I don't think it's this great comedy masterpiece that deserves to be up there with the higher praised films of the time. But I mean, even if I wasn't that big of a fan of the first movie, I would still say this movie has no purpose for existing whatsoever. They clearly have no purpose for making this except to make the same fashion jokes over and over again, make funny faces, create awkward humor for a cheap laugh, and have a plot that's been rehashed in bad sequels for year after year. I was shocked that I didn't get up and walk out of this movie, and the fact that I was able to survive this movie for the entire runtime is unbelievable. This is actually the second comedy sequel in 3 years that I almost walked out of. The Hangover Part 3, I'm shocked I still made it through that movie all the way through. But this was a mess, man. Actually, no, 3 movies I've walked out of in the last 5 years, because I've mentioned Big Mama's Like Father Like Son, except when I tried to walk out, the movie had already ended at that point. But yeah, Zoolander 2 is not only a bad comedy, not only is it a bad comedy sequel, it might be one of the worst comedies ever made. This movie is the reason why I gave up on comedy sequels well after a long period of time. Like I always say, the maximum should be 5 years. 5 years after the original movie. So if you can't make a good comedy sequel in that time, just don't bother making it anymore. And like, I don't want to hear anybody giving me shit anymore when I say I'm not interested in some of these comedy sequels that we've been getting, because this movie is one of the reasons why they shouldn't be comedy sequels long after the first movie came out, or the last movie came out, because they're pointless, they're unnecessary, they're not funny, they regress the characters down from where they were at the end of the first movie, and they're just terrible. You'll get a good one every once in a while, but 99.9% of the time, They all suck, and that's why I'm mostly done with these movies in general. I mean, who knows? Somewhere out there will probably get another good one. I've got my hopes a little bit up for Father-in-Law, but even though I'm saying that one probably won't be good, but I mean, I'm just done with those type of movies, man. And Zoolander 2 was the movie that just made me say, put my hands up in the air and say, fuck this shit, I'm out, because I can't take it anymore. So yeah, I hate this movie so much. This is one of those early contenders for one of the worst movies of the year. And I think it did make my worst of 2016 list, So let's go ahead and turn the tide. Let's go ahead and get to a really good movie to wrap our show up here. A very underrated gem of a film that you probably don't remember because Paramount put so much effort into this movie, and then they tossed this last movie that we have here out to Netflix to let it die, but I don't want it to die. I want you people to see a good movie in The Little Prince.
Not the problem. Forgetting is.
Wow.
Once upon a time, there was a little prince who lived on a planet that was scarcely bigger than himself, and who had need of a friend.
I'm not even kidding. Paramount was supposed to release this. This is supposed to be like the second movie with Paramount Animation after the SpongeBob movie, Sponge Out of Water, and then they just kind of dumped it before it was set to come out. I mean, this movie had originally had a premiere date set for March 18th in 2016, but then at the last minute, Paramount dropped it, and Netflix picked it up in August. So why am I not covering it in August, you might ask? Well, Box Office Mojo had it on the list here, so why not put it on here? Why not? But, yeah, I'm glad I'm putting it on here now so I can tell you that, yeah, this is a movie you should definitely see. From Mark Osborne comes the first ever animated feature adaptation of Antoine de Saint-Exupéry's iconic masterpiece, The Little Prince. Sorry if I get this name wrong, but I do this all the time, so blame me for it. But anyway, The Little Prince, at the heart of it is the little girl who's being prepared by her mother for the very grown-up world in which they live, only to be interrupted by her eccentric, kind-hearted neighbor, the Aviator, voiced by Jeff Bridges. The Aviator introduces his new friend to an extraordinary world where anything is possible, a world that he himself was initiated into long ago by the Little Prince. It's here that the little girl's magic and emotional journey into her own imagination and into the universe of the Little Prince begins, and it's where the little girl rediscovers her childhood and learns that ultimately it's human connections that matter most, and that's what's truly essential, can only be seen with the heart. And yeah, this was a movie that, like I said, was supposed to be released by Paramount. They literally dropped the movie a week before it was supposed to be released. The movie had already been released worldwide, so Paramount decided, oh shit, a movie that we're going to talk about is coming up and is pulling in a lot of money, so pull the film! Like, we'll get to that film in particular, even though I do like that film a lot. So, I mean, but yeah, it was shady business practice. And this was before Paramount was in its current state right now. They dropped the film a week before it was supposed to come out. They had items for sale at Hot Topic. I mean, it's a movie where it's something where it's just kind of like, what were you guys thinking by doing this? But it did eventually make its way to Netflix, and thank God it did, because let me tell you, it was one of the more enjoyable movies I saw that year. I enjoyed the hell out of this movie. I mean, this movie is so good. The animation is so incredible. This is one of the writers on this is Bob Persichetti, who will, of course, later go on to work on the Spider-Man movies at Sony, Into the Spider-Verse and all that. And you could definitely see a little bit of a preview of what was to come in terms of how to do animation the way the Spider-Verse kind of revolutionized it. I mean, we saw it a little bit early in the Peanuts movie, but yeah, this was another one of those movies that doesn't really get talked about a whole lot, but man, it's definitely one to see just for the animation alone. It's got a great voice cast to it. A cast that also includes Rachel McAdams, Paul Rudd, Bud Cort, Marion Cotillard, Benicio del Toro, James Franco, Ricky Gervais, Paul Giamatti, Albert Brooks, Mackenzie Foy. Just a terrific cast overall, and it works with a story and a really good message about growing up and all that. It's a movie that definitely deserved a lot more attention. It didn't even get a Blu-ray release, a physical media release, until 5 years later. People had already forgotten about that movie, and yet I was one of those ones that I saw the movie early on, and I was just kind of like, man, this movie is absolutely amazing. It's just like, why is this not getting seen by more people? It took them 5 years to get this movie released on some form of physical media for the people that didn't have Netflix. And it's a shame because it's a really good movie. It's a terrific film. I never read the stories that this was based off of, but you didn't really need to. because the movie itself was working on its own merits. This is an outstanding, outstanding movie. Don't let this movie go under the radar. I want to say it's probably still on Netflix, but with the way streaming services usually like to take stuff without letting you know, yeah, probably gone at this point. But if you can find a copy of The Little Prince out there, seek this movie out, man, because it's a movie that definitely deserves more attention, more praise to it. It's a great movie, man. I enjoyed the hell out of it a lot. One of the best underrated gems of the year. One of the best underrated gems of that decade of movies. But hey, and it's one of the two best things Netflix gave us that summer. The other one was a little show called Stranger Things, which surely will have a great successful run after that, maybe. Or it could get canceled after the first season, Netflix is concerned. But I think we all know which direction that went. But yeah, not much more to say about it. I'm just kind of filling time right now. That's The Little Prince. And it looks like we're going to have this pattern early on, where we have a week of really good movies with one bad film, and then the next week it's going to be a weekend where we have one good movie and then two steaming piles of garbage. Because next up on the weekend after Valentine's Day, and the next time we meet, will be Risen, which is a movie about it's about the missing body of Jesus Christ, who's rose from the dead. So it's a Christian-based action drama history mystery. I'm not even joking. That's what Box Office Mojo literally has it described as. But we see the debut of yet another master of horror in modern day, Robert Eggers, who gives us Anya Taylor-Joy in one of her first big breakout roles in The Witch. We'll take a look at that from A24. And then we have the movie Race, about the legend of Jesse Owens, of course the famous Olympian who faced off against Adolf Hitler's vision of Aryan supremacy back then. So you can probably tell which one's the best movie of those three, but we'll take a look at those three films coming up tomorrow on the show, so be on the lookout for that. But with all of that said, I thought I had something else there, but no. With all that said, thank you so much for watching this. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please go ahead and do me the honors of hitting that like button, that subscribe button, and that notification button. Also, don't forget to check out our playlist, and don't forget to check out the previous episode we did. So with all that said, whether it's in the past, the present, or the future, I will see you at the... Let's start that again. With all that said, whether it's in the past, the present, or the future, I will see you at the movies. Yes. 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 I'll see you at the movies. Take care.